Gag orders, team too much, and more. Let's get into this Kelli Bryant case. Let's go. I am not a lawyer. I looked at the probable cause case, broke it up into details for the people like me who need to see it, so you don't have to. Let's get into the details. Before you get into all of that, I don't even know what's going on. Kelli Bryant of Michigan left 4 of her 5 children in the house by themselves alone. She would come over a couple times during the week to give them food, prepare food, mainly pizza. When she didn't pay her rent in October, the landlord sounded the alarms and they found the conditions. The children were living in squalor, feces all over the place. It was a wreck. That happened in February. Now her trials and her court dates are here, and now we're getting motion. Now, what was supposed to be going down today? A lot of people were confused. They thought they were going to get a little bit more. Let's get into what was supposed to go down today. It was considered, or was to be, a probable cause hearing. And a probable cause hearing is a preliminary court proceeding where a judge decides if there's enough evidence for the case to move forward, to ensure that all the information and evidence is there so that the defendant is not wrongfully prosecuted. People, that's what it's about. Are we charging the right person? It's kind of hard, in my opinion, for it not to appear that way because she is the mother, but that's what this was about. So the prosecutor presents evidence and the defense can challenge it or request more time to review materials. And if the judge finds probable cause, meaning that it was a reasonable belief that the crime was committed and the defendant was involved, the case proceeds to trial. So this was just to make sure we got the right person. The case, if not, the charges may be dismissed or reduced. And in Kelli's case, her defense asked for more time because they had not received all the evidence. So the judge postponed it until April 15th. But there's a lot of stuff that went down in this case that we need to be aware of. Okay. So the discovery process and the defense request for adjournment. Defense like, we need more time, y'all. This is not going to be enough time. There's so much evidence coming in. So while they received some evidence, including the police report, and the children interviews recording, they interviewed the babies to see what the babies had to say. It was still a large amount of data, okay, that is still missing. So to obtain this, the defense provided the prosecutor's office with an external hard drive for file transfers. They said, we need more time because there's a lot of stuff y'all throwing at us. Since they have not yet reviewed all the necessary evidence, the defense requested a delay in the probable cause conference to ensure a fair review. The judge agreed and postponed it for a later date. So we need more time. This case is a bit much, and we ain't gonna be able to defend her like this. Now, child, the gag order, honey. Apparently stuff has been leaking, which we have been seeing a lot of, and they wanted to put a gag order on what was coming out. So the defense filed a motion requesting that the details of the case not be made public, yikes, in order to prevent bias and potential prejudice before trial. They argue that the release of the sensitive information could impact the fairness. So that information was going on with the babies, what the babies is saying and all of that. They feel like once we got a hold of it, then trying to get this lady a fair jury is going to be next to impossible. And depending upon who you talk to, they can probably say that anyway. So you almost kind of understand it. So, but the defense went into details. They gave more and more. Defense included concerns, including alleged the prosecutor's office leaked confidential information, such as children interviews, even though they had required the defense to sign a protective order before receiving them the information. So they said, look, prosecution said, look, we're going to give y'all the information, but y'all got to sign this order. But then the defense is like, but y'all, we signed it, or we not going to sign it, but y'all are still leaking out information about the case. So like, what are y'all really trying to protect? Additionally, the prosecutor office initially asked the defense to sign an agreement prohibiting them from sharing any discovery materials, even with the defendant, which the defense refused. Now, come on, y'all. You preventing them from giving their own defendant the information that in the case that concerns her. The defense argued that while the prosecution claims the public interest, releasing unverified evidence before trial does not disturb the public or is in the best interest of the children involved. I remember when I did that very first video, I didn't want to put her name out because they were saying they did not want to put her name out because one of the babies had the same name as her. Remember that? And people were saying, Kelli Bryant, Kelli Bryant. But I had done that case before they did that video, before they actually came later on that night and said, look, TikTok, everybody know, so we might as well tell people too. So this is the kind of stuff that they're dealing with. They also raised concerns about the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, noting that many of the deputies and detectives are witnesses in the case. And another key issue was that the body cam footage from a deputy during the investigation was shared on social media and everything, y'all. Y'all got it, we got it, everybody. It's everywhere. In response, the prosecution defended their actions, stating that Oakland County prosecutor only held one press conference on February 19th, and after Kelli Bryant was formally charged. They maintained that the information shared with us had already been public, as it had been included in the search warrant. And furthermore, the prosecution opposed a gag order, arguing that such restriction could prevent them from correcting misinformation if it were to circulate in the media. Like, we don't want to do a gag order, because if people are talking about stuff and or talking about stuff, we're not going to be able to stop them. After hearing both sides, the court denied the defense's request for a gag order. They say, no, get out of here. The judge ruled that a gag order would contradict Michigan's law and the Michigan rules of professional conduct, which allows prosecution to make public statements that serve a legitimate law enforcement purpose. So they are allowed to come out and say, this is what it is. Not only that, by saying this is what it is, somebody may have more information about whatever can step forward. So they're not going to allow that. The judge warned that if media coverage became excessively biased or prejudicial, the court would revisit the issue and make a new determination. That way they would come back and say, you know what, we do need to put a gag order on the table. Okay, so just so we know, charges and legal consequences, Kelli faces 3 counts of first-degree C, which carries a sentence of life in prison, which we all know. Despite the severity of charges, she is still legally presumed innocent until proven guilty. So she's innocent until proven guilty. Additional details. So the key legal issue in this hearing was whether the prosecution's public statements were appropriate or prejudicial. Are we charging the right person? Are they being too biased? You know, what's going on? The court ultimately ruled that the prosecutor's statements were within legal boundaries, but warned about the excessive media influence. And the defense concerns about police body cam footage and children's interview remained unsolved. So we don't know if they're going to give that information to us, or if they're going to say, no, y'all got enough. Because we done seen the house, we done seen everything. Friday's bond hearing will determine if Bryant remains in custody or is released on bond with restrictions. Okay? Now, she's trying to get out, y'all. She does not want to be in a joint. She's trying to get out. So they are going to do a motion for a reasonable bond. The defense filed a motion requesting a reasonable bond for Bryant's pretrial release. The judge agreed to evaluate the appropriate pretrial conditions. So the bond hearing, for her to possibly get out with a reduced bond, the court scheduled the bond hearing for Friday at noon. So this Friday is going to be a bond hearing. So if y'all hear another case is coming, that's what it is. Or they're going to let her out. Both the defense and the prosecution agrees to this time. That's what we have in the case right now. I'm going to be coming back and staying on top of this. Y'all know the Jarvis butt situation is happening too in Michigan. And I want to let people know it's going to be pretty much the same thing. You're not going to get any firm information. You know, it's not going to be what you think it is. They are got to follow these steps before they go to the next step.